Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Tuesday Terrain. I am your host, CAVBoss. Let's see, we got anybody in here yet? Possibly one. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Hello, hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Our little quiet Tuesday night terrain crafting night. Trying to get stuff complete. We can only hope. So, can you hear me okay? Coming through loud and clear? Give everybody a couple of minutes to show up. Good, okay. Well, we're still we're working on the big desert build. Got a little further on it since last show, so we're gonna work on that a little bit more. Talk little bit more about the direction we're going with some of this. I didn't get as far on my Oasis as I wanted to. Trying to find time today to break the airbrush out to do the other colors, and never got to it. But we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll work on the Plaza. So last week, the Plaza that I had built, I had rushed it, and I didn't seal it before I started gluing stuff on there. So because it's on MDF board, that thing soaked up the glue and warped on me. I fought with it for a day or two trying to square it out, and I never could. So I just redid it. So that's what you're seeing here. I got a nice, good flat one. All the tiles are back on, textured, and we're going to work on it a little bit. This is a first, each year I try to pick a themed board that we use at the conventions. Naturally, we didn't really get one to do one last year. And I really don't know how the conventions are going to show up for this year, but this is the build that I'm working on. It's a desert build. It's for a series of desert scenarios that we're doing. If you're familiar with the older Cav, years ago we did a little scenario write-up in one of the old Reaper Casket Works magazines, catalogs. That was Attack on New Memphis or something like that. So we're kind of taking that planet and that stuff and building on that, and that's kind of what this is. This is we've been working on different parts of it for seems like forever, but I think the last 6 weeks or whatever. Like I said, it's a big desert board. It's got a big desert base in the middle of it with the pyramid and everything that we were working on. I might get to that a little bit tonight because I've almost got it done. I've just got a couple of dry brush colors left to do on it. And the Plaza sits out in front of the entrance to the Cav base, to the military base. So that's what this is going to be. Because of the different scenarios, I'll need different things. So I've been building trees and hills and everything. So I've got a couple of Oases. So this is a big one. There's a smaller one. I haven't done as much with the smaller one because I was going to show some more of the steps with it after I got this one painted and done, but I didn't get as far on it as I wanted to. So we'll go for there. And what this is MDF board that I've cut a ring around and sanded down the edges to give a rise. After I had that put together, I used toilet paper and gluey water to put a texture down for water. It's kind of a cool effect that I like. It might not be as I can't get as wild with it as I would like a normal deal because I don't think there'll be really a lot of white capping in an Oasis. But it works really good for that because it gives a lot of wave texture that you can direct and everything. And you want to come back and put some white over the tops of them to put some caps on there. I'll play with it a little bit and see what I think of it, but I don't think that it's probably going to have probably too much of that. But especially if you're doing like a seacoast or something like that, you can really push this stuff up and really make it look like waves crashing into the side. So it's an old model railroad trick, and I like it. And you can kind of see some on the camera, the texture that you get on there. So what the next steps on this are going to be is to give it some depth look. I try to paint a little darker blue in the middle and a little lighter blue around the edges. I'll probably put in some little weeds or something around, kind of like things growing out of the side of it, like you see. And then I'll go in and put a real gloss varnish on top of it, just right out of the can, brush it on there. That way it's got a little thickness to it. And that way when it dries, it seals up and it levels out and just is a really cool effect. Then I'll go back in and sand and put some sand down and paint this to match up with the rest of our terrain, the board. So anyways, that's where we're at on that right now. I was going to like I said, I was going to airbrush the other two colors on it, just so I can get a smoother transition. I thought about going in and do it with a brush tonight, but I think I'll wait and go ahead and do it with the airbrush so that I get that transition that I want. And then, so that'll be next week. We'll be a little further ahead on that. That's where we're at. Now, the Plaza, like I said last week, had one that was a nice mound when it was done. So, and this was an older piece that I had done for another desert board a long time ago. And it kind of got beat up and everything over time. And so I'm repurposing parts of it. So these are metal, actually, Reaper statues and stuff that they've done in the past. I think they've come back and done some of these in bones. I don't know for sure or whatever. But anyway, but I painted them up so that they all look like kind of like carved out of sandstone. So they'll be part of this Plaza as we get it built. And these are going to serve as the base out in the center of the board. I'll arrange them to go with the statues or whatnot. So those are ready. Those just need the dry brush on them. We've got everything base coated. Set these over here for now. All right. I had to sand the bottoms of them to get the old glue off of them. So, hi Cthulhu, how are you doing? So now these are going to serve as columns, tops. And on the old board, back in the day before I had 3D printers, I had I'd gone to Michael's, Hobby Lobby or whatever, and you can buy little long gear looking pieces that are grooved. They look like columns, but they're little wood dowels or whatever that are notched out. And then they have little caps too that are like for plugs or whatever. So that's what I had originally used for those. I'd put two of the caps on it and put this on top of it, and it gave a nice column effect. The only problem that I had with that in hindsight was they were very Romanesque, and this is kind of being more Egyptian themed. So the other day, what I did is I went in with my 3D in a program, and I looked up kind of what an Egyptian column looked like. And I found this one. This was a very common, where it kind of widens out at the top and then comes back and widens out again at the bottom with the square and round on the bottom. So I have printed up a bunch of those. I haven't got them all cleaned up yet. I just did this one. I did it on a resin printer. I did it at its highest setting. So if you look real close, you can see some of the banding that you get from, especially when you do rounded things. But for purposes of what this is going to be, it's going to be fine. That way they print a lot quicker. But you can see it's a much more Egyptian looking column. So what will happen is these will fit underneath here like so. and there'll be three of them, 1, 2, 3, and those are going to make up the corners. So those will set, if I can get it there. So these will set each way, one here and one here on the corner. That way, that kind of gives a wall. It acts as, kind of gets in the way for terrain, for gaming and so forth, for to provide cover and stuff. So that's where we're at with those. I've got to get the rest of those cleaned up, but that's what they'll all look like. So I've got that one. Did do the. All right, so let's go ahead and work on the Plaza board here. Now, in my infinite wisdom, last night, after I sprayed the base color onto it, and I just rattled those on there, I needed to put some wash down on it to fill in the cracks, bring out some of that texture pattern. Again, and that's just little pieces of sliced pink foam, insulation foam, that once I glued on, I made a ball out of aluminum foil and rolled on there, and it does just a great rock texture on it. So, but because of the wash being so wet, even though I'd sealed it, I was afraid that it may soak into the MDF and cause it to warp, and I didn't want that. So when I left last night, I put a piece of plastic on top of it and put a weight on it to keep it nice and flat. Well, unfortunately, in hindsight, the wash congregated underneath where the plastic and the weight was sitting on there. So I ended up with a kind of a splotchy where I had to let it dry today. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think once I put a wash on, or start dry brushing it, it'll come. That's what we hope. That's the plan. I'm sticking with it anyway. So, got some paint, kind of get my lines back in there a little bit. I'm gonna mess with it too much. Get it all tore up. Since this is the second time I've done it. Kind of getting where some of the paint got a little thicker in the lines there. And there's a dozen different ways I could have done this. This was I wanted to glue them individually so that I got some good line work between them. And 10mm is such a weird scale to work in. It's not like you're gonna, if you really tried to get everything really to scale, you would go crazy. Small as the thing is. So these are 3/4 inch. I figured that works out to about 10-foot squares. I figured that would be a pretty good. I could see 10-foot tiles being carved for them. I think we'll be all right there. Some of this is glue too, that carved around on the sides. Okay, so we're going to put our first color on first, kind of bring it back to this is close to the color. I keep meaning to go match up my rattle trap can with this type of paint. Forgetting to do it till I need it. Then I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that again. All right, so we're going to dry brush this first. Now, the plan on this is we'll get this all done here again, and I'll get it the way I want it and seal it up with some matte and everything. Then I'll come back and do the same thing like with the Oasis. I'll go back in and put the sand. All right, so we're going to try to see if we can get this. But you'll really start seeing the stone pattern from how rough it is. I'll probably go a little heavier here where what you got. Because I think once it all kind of goes on there, it'll. This one's going to be a little heavier dry brush too, because they'll do a pretty good lighten up on it. Cheap brushes here. And then hit it with the real light color. I try to go in the same direction the whole time. It has a more uniform look to it. I am bad about getting a hurry. Exactly how I meant. The wonders of this of doing terrain. It's hard to do it wrong. Sometimes you can, I guess, something that looks really. It usually is pretty easy. It's pretty forgiving. I think you can really start seeing the pattern show up. If you're new to painting and you're looking, kind of start out with dry brushing and stuff, let me highly recommend. A lot of people use scrap paper, or cardboard, or whatever to wipe their brush off. Paper towels are the best thing in the world to dry. They grab the paint. It's very easy for you to see how much you have left on there, and as long as you don't get into a hurry, it's much easier to control. Always new painters, I always tell them with dry brushing that a good paper towels. Plus, and this will be a little darker even after it's all done than the rest of the stuff. And I wanted that. I wanted there to be some more of a contrast. So I kind of figure, people walking on this, things like that it'll probably be a little darker, a little dirtier anyway. That way that'll make it look a lot different than statues, is the hope. That's okay. Um, a lot of this now, when I started this particular stream, I kind of concentrated on the beginning on techniques stuff. So you can always go back and look at those. They're all on our YouTube channel now these days. Because Twitch only goes back so far. But I try to work some of those techniques into when we're now that I'm kind of more focused on a project. So if you have a question, if there's something that you want me to talk about or explain how I do it, I will be glad to. Like I said, I'm going to be pretty heavy dry brush because I need to pull that dark back out of it and get ready for kind of figure this color plus the wash and everything on it'll pretty close back to my base color when I sprayed it before I washed it. And what's cool too, I mean, you can go in if you want to after this stuff is, you can take a little toothpick or something if you want to put little like cracks in it, little holes, little divots even. Push some corners down to make them look a little worn. On these, I just rolled aluminum foil on them, and I had a pretty good sized ball that I really had compacted down, so it was really hard, so it didn't take a lot of pressure to roll it across there. So I got a really up by now. It is really soaking it up. I think part of it is where the wash kind of uh, was out in the center. I kind of mixed. Well, very good. I saw some of your Templars earlier, right before I came up, catching up on Facebook. All right, so we're going to go with that. That's, I think, is pulled as much of that I'm going to pull out, I think. And like I said, it's still darker than what I'm doing. Like I said, when I put that light color, that'll tie it all. So we're going to set that aside, let that dry for a minute. And because while I've got it here, because it talked about earlier, crash, the pyramid. So I've got it, the one side done. I got the base color on the other, the armor plating or whatever you want to call them. And then this puppy is done as far as what I'm going to do to it for putting it on the board. So since I have this color out right quick, this is the color that goes, this is the mid-tone. So I'm going, well, I've got it here. This I want to be a little more careful. This. Luckily, this color got used in this part too. Miss a little bit. It's not gonna, it shouldn't show up. Not enough that it's gonna hurt. I gotta just be careful not to get it on my, right, printed my windows. And if you haven't seen this before, those are just, I got some photography paper and printed it on an inkjet. Just a reflection of the area around it is kind of what I went. So you kind of can see the desert and everything there. So that's what's going on there. Remember how far I went with that the other one. But I figure, well, I got this color out, and that's the next one this one needs. We'll just get that done right quick. Hello, Mr. James. Just working more on the desert stuff. Hello, Gimli. Yeah, this dude is just about done. I got a little detailing left to go on the base that sits underneath this. I was going to bring it up, but it's so hard to show on the cameras. I was going to try to get some pictures. I'll try to get those up on Facebook so you can kind of see where we're at on that. It just I'm doing a little detailing on the inside with some K rails and some stacked ammo and stuff like that, just to kind of give it a little more of a lot of our terrain that we have on our website is real good for that kind of stuff. Hint, hint, hint. You and your pebble camos. Oh, talking to Cthulhu. Like, I know I've been on a camo thing today. I thought you were talking to me. Speaking of that, while I'm thinking of it, since I just got finished with that. So we had a couple of new players that showed up here on the Facebook and stuff here over the last couple of days. Once again, asking questions about paint schemes. Well, of course, you know, we keep talking about we're trying to get the JOR done and with everything that it's going to have, and it'll explain a lot of that. Well, so we have a master list that we work off of. Stuff that's already been painted, the stuff that we're working on. Some units we haven't got everything totally chosen for, but they're not in the first JOR, so there was no. But so what I'm doing is, and we've got kind of a method code that we use for our deals, and it makes sense to us because we talk about it all the time, but it wouldn't make any sense to anybody else that would read it on any consistent basis. So today, and then hopefully I will have it done tomorrow, is I'm putting together a quick and dirty unit painting guide. It'll basically list a bunch of the units that are in each faction and how their main paint job is. So hopefully that will help some people. We'll get that out there. I'll put it up as a PDF that you can download. So hopefully that will be. It's coming. It'll be. If I don't get it done tomorrow, it'll be done Friday. Okay. Get another towel here for our dry brushing. And we will get our white color out. Ceramic beige. Okay, I need to break these down into pots or something. Whatever. I love this color. It's such a great sandy. You look at it and you're like, oh, it just kind of, but it goes on. It just Okay, so we've got, so these all need their, we're gonna let this dry a little bit more. We'll let that. Of course, the bad thing about these type of skills is hard to hold on to. Just a great color. Hi, Emerson. How are you? Now, these, my stones, my bases, my column tops, or whatever, these are actually stone. You can go to Home Depot, whatever your flavor of local home improvement stores are in your area. Go back to the tile. They make all kinds of little sheets for details and stuff like that. I get, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them for a couple of bucks each or whatever. And I think I've got some like 10 years ago and I'm still working off of them. But you can peel those off the backing and they are great stone because they are stone, a version of. So it's hard to beat stone. If you've got stone and you're using stone, it's a great look. But they're nice and rough always, and a little more limited in the smaller scales, especially if you're looking at doing some stuff in 28 millimeter. Woo, things are great. And these just in themselves would make great tiles if you wanted. I actually thought about doing my floor in these tiles, but it's going to be too heavy. And I was using these for my base anyway, so that way it'll change up the look a little. See the patterns in them? They're just great, especially to dry. Paint them one color. If you want to put a wash on them, you can, but usually stay pretty dark anyway. Come back, I brush it because it just perfect. They're just a pain to hold on to. We'll work on these a minute. We'll work on the column tops for a minute. Finish up the show with the Plaza board. Now that it's, like I said, I had to redo it if you were here last week. It's too warped. I just couldn't get it to the first one I did. Hurry. So I just redid it. Fixed it all. It's all good. You can see the difference. Shit like it does, it does, it does. Hurry, John. Slow down. Didn't think I had that much paint on there. Got to make sure I do the right side because when I took these off the old board, I had to sand the old glue off of them. The bottoms are smooth. They don't have a lot of texture on the bottom of them anyway, when they're glued onto the little plastic sheets that they come on. When you stick them on the sander for just a half second, they get really smooth. Imagine that. Right. Great thing about stone too is pretty fast. Even when you're doing cliff faces, yeah, got them good and rough. Doesn't take very long to dry brush them up. But after this is done and that's dry, the main board's dry brushed, then I'll put the sand pattern around the sides of it and then I'll glue everything together. And we'll have that to show next week. Put in the done column. You have to watch out for the hairs for your cheapy brushes. Right. Woohoo! Almost there. I don't know what you guys are doing. Thought that was going to be, is that not a Thursday night thing? My hope was that I was going to be further ahead, have the painting guide. Hey, if you knew that, you got to hit me with the clue phone. My brain is just a sponge right now. In texture, not soaking anything up. But I wanted to talk about our painting schemes, and yes, we will talk about CAVCon. That's coming up in March. Actually, I meant Thursday night. Okay. That's what I was going off of. I thought that was a Thursday night thing that you and Ross and Todd were working on. Because this Thursday is the third Thursday of the month. So they will be doing Big Stompy Podcast. Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central Time. It will be Ross and James with their buddy Todd. He's going to be there again. The good thing I like this color because it's all over my covering the starter forces and what they are good at, how to expand them. Very cool. Yeah, it'll be nice when as we switch over to the dual cast so we can change out the amethyl a little bit more, get them there. Truer of their Kodiak. I think the Kodiak will starter for. I think that's plan. All right, so there you go. There's all those. Those are all the base. Like I said, these will serve as the different the pedestals for our little statues here on the big board. So push those to the side for a moment. And then we have the same thing here with the We do it on times. These are going to be the column tops. Again, it's just to bring those in with everything. So a couple of them here right quick. And but so if you weren't here earlier, I got rid of my old Romanesque looking columns, and I did a little research on, found the nice looking Egyptian ones. I did a 3D file of them right quick. But these all sit underneath. There'll be 3 of them that go under each one of these. And this will form the walls around the side of it. So keep up the Plaza look. Okay, so let's get our big board out here. Let's see if I can do this and not mess it up. Okay. All right, so we got our middle on there, kind of brought that up. So now we do the white one. Try to get on camera. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, this really brings. Like I said, I wanted it to be a little darker than all the other statue work and everything, just so that it wasn't as glaring. Monochrome, all one look to it. So, and I knew it was going to have to come up a little bit because of the wash that I had to put on it to get down in the cracks. If I didn't, I would see it after the. And because a lot of the sand work that I do is kind of close to the statues, when I put that pattern around the sides, it really needs overly matchy. Don't want matchy. Side edge real good here, and we'll bring it up. What do you think? Starting to look like a desert stone? Can only hope, right? All right. Well, I got that out. I'm going to put, I think, put a little Adenese brown in this. Maybe. Should have had it here. There it is. Yeah, not bad for little thin pieces of pink insulation foam. I'll try to work some. I've got some 8 on Prairie here. This is kind of my go-to. Everything needs a little brown. We just need a little of that. We're just going to kind of work some in here and there just to break it up a little bit. A brush. There. Just going to kind of go in here and model it up. Like to do it before the dry brush is totally has dried. That way you can your other color kind of light. It gives it just a little bit of a glow. Kind of shadow. Go with a little darker color. Maybe we'll try some. You don't want a whole lot. Crazy. Gonna change it up. Yeah. Let's see. We got some, and that's too red. Ready. We don't have one brown. Should have another umber brown. Try a little of that. This is when I get in trouble. I start experimenting. Oh, I should have done that. And again, I don't clean my brush. Let's just go with it. It's all want it to blend together anyway. Work it out over here. Light color back on there. Bring it. Okay, I think I'm good with that. It kind of gives me some smoothness here. And then, like I said, it's enough of a, should be enough of a go on out here. These will break it up a little bit. so that it has more of a carved stone look to it. So all righty, Rudy. Okay, so I'm good with that. Get these all more on here. Okay, go with that for now. We'll let that dry. We'll seal it up. The rest of the stuff on there, it should be. All right, so while I've got a few here and I've got this color out, I need to finish just a little bit here. Well, I don't know. I don't know when he. All right, this is just a little light to kind of model up a little bit. Pretty light one. It'll make more sense as we get when you start seeing the scenarios and the board all put together. And understanding more about the history of the world. It's a Terran world, but it's an independent. It's not a member of the Federation. But it'll make more understanding as to why they have more of Egyptian themed stuff. But after this dry brush, this baby is done other than just spraying it with some. And I'm kind of particular towards Kurt Russell. I'm never a big fan of the series. I think it lost too much for what it should have been for to make it so they could. No, I know a lot of people like the series. I don't know. Could be because I don't like Richard Dean Anderson. Part of it. I think probably more of it was the Daniel. It's because James Spader. I thought James Spader played that part much better. I don't even know the guy that ended up doing it for the TV series, but I'm not trying to take away from anybody that likes it. It just wasn't my. Is that who played it in the TV series? I see. Yeah, I wish they had got been able to do more with the movie, with the original characters, in my opinion. All right, I think that finishes up my pyramid. I do. Oh, man. Go off here. Oh, just a little bit. Down just a little bit because I got too much. Not paying attention. Yeah, I have to go back. That's all right. I get for getting in a hurry. Oh well. So other than the one little oomph there, I'm happy with it. That finishes the pyramid up. Yay, team. All right. So ride this one out for a couple of minutes. Okay, so next week I will have the Plaza done, the Oasis is done, and then we'll kind of go over it a little bit again, the Oasis part for final steps. So we'll show those off, and then I think that's pretty much all the set pieces, other than I've got some hills and trees to finish up, but that we've already went over. So maybe just 3 more pyramids to do. No, just need the one. So the last piece is going to be on there is I want to have a little. It's not really a village, but just some kind of adobe looking, like you would see out in the desert of Egypt or whatever. Some little house structures. So 10 millimeter, they're going to be kind of small, but so that's what I'll work on next week. Get that done, and then other than that, then the board should be ready. Have it ready to go, and we'll use it during virtual CAVCon last weekend of March. So put that on your schedule. Well, yeah, I thought about that, but I'm going to be running out of space with the pyramid, and the plaza is kind of my sphinx. So I wanted something, the mountain with the pyramid on top of it, it'll serve as a good line of sight blocker across the middle of the board. But the Plaza will be able to, yes, the desert skeleton goes in here too. But that way, because we want the pieces playable. So since I've already got big line of sight blockers, we don't need it. But who knows? Maybe down the road we'll build a speed. All right, folks, that is going to do it for tonight. And I have my little doggies. They're kind of little spinky. Like. All right, so folks, thank you for coming to the show tonight. Me and James will be back tomorrow night with CAVHQ Live. We are going to talk about paint schemes, infantry, that kind of stuff, a little stuff about CavCon. So everybody take care. We hope to see you tomorrow night, and be safe. Good night, guys and gals.